Nigerians are expected to seek out the best.
2 words to describe the activity. The Yoruba Unity Forum is
To you on
Be the first to know.
on Core TV News.
From the north, south, east, west, and around Africa,
Presidential
we break the news.
Women in Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live
I wish you were
as the news spreads. We are Core TV News,
Welcome to Core TV Primetime
a
News.
24-hour news station.
All right, thank you for staying with us on Core Digest Tuesday. As we wrap up the year, we're also taking time out to cast our mind back into the year 2014 and the development of stories and every other thing that transpired politically and otherwise. We were able to do a bit of justice to some of those political events yesterday that marked and defined 2014 as a year for their country, Nigeria. We're turning our attention today to security. Of course, pockets of rioting here and there, pockets of kidnapping, no doubt, and of course pockets of armed robbery, interracial attacks. There were also cases of Fulani headsmen clashing with certain farmers in some climes in Nigeria. There are big questions also as regards how equipped, well-equipped the Nigerian army and other security forces are in this part of the world to manage all of these disasters, especially in a pre-election year. And of course, the issue of fighting terrorism or insurgency, as it's been called in certain quarters. So where do we start from? You recall the Soka ritual killing in Ibadan. That also defined totally afresh the spate of violence in this part of the world where human beings have been used as by ritualists, killed and maimed for all sorts of spiritual reasons, and that also was one of those very devastating experiences that Nigerians got to see in the course of the year. Well, the best place to start will be on April 14, 2014. And that particular night, a group of militants attacked the government girls' secondary school in Chibok, Nigeria. They broke into the school pretending to be guards, telling the girls to get out and come with them. A large number of students were taken away in trucks, possibly into the Kodunga area of the Sambisa forest, where Boko Haram were known to have fortified camps. And then you have houses in Chibok also burnt down in that particular incident. The school had been closed for 4 weeks prior to the attack due to the deteriorating security situation. But students from multiple schools had been called in to take final exams in physics, and this particular issue has also deteriorated into other very controversial statements as regards why students were allowed to go back to that particular place to continue examinations, why did the state government refuse to yield to alleged intelligence reports of gathering them and ensuring that exams are being taken in the state capital. There were about 530 students, so to speak, from multiple villages registered for the senior secondary certificate examination, although it's unclear how many were in attendance at the time of the attack. And then you have children aged 16 to 18 and were in their final year of school. Initial reports said 85 students had been kidnapped in the attack. Over the 19 to 20 April weekend, the military released a statement that said more than 129 kidnapped girls had been freed. However, the statement was retracted. And on 21st April, parents said 234 girls were missing. A number of the students escaped the kidnappers in 2 groups, and then, according to the police, approximately 276 children were actually taken in the attack, of whom 53 had escaped as of 2nd May. And of course, over the time, we would also meet to all these young ladies who managed to escape on that day, given their own gory tale of what transpired there, that this man came in, looked like armed army or soldiers, the Nigerian army, and then unfortunately it just came to be that these indeed are not who they thought they were. Amnesty International however, said it believes the Nigerian army had 4 hours advanced warning of the kidnapping, but failed to send reinforcement to protect the school. Of course, in the swift reaction to that, the Nigerian army said there was no way that was going to be possible, that they had a chance to safeguard the lives of those people, and declined. But over the months also, with the news of mutiny here and there, that particular position of the army also was to be questioned. Nigeria's armed force has confirmed that the Nigerian military had 4-hour notice, advance notice of the attack, but said that their overextended forces were unable to mobilize reinforcements. And then it goes on and on like that, but certain other issues developed from there, from the reaction of politicians to the position of the presidency. There are reports that for about 2 or 3 weeks, the presidency did not come to terms with the reality of this abduction, and all of those stories would, over the months of this year, but cloud our emotions and, of course, dictate the mood of things as we speak this morning. The Guardian, or what paper is that now? Perhaps it is The Guardian, yes, still counting, 260 days after, and then the girls are still nowhere to be found. The Jonathan Elsie Hill of King's College London has pointed out also that Boko Haram kidnapped those girls after coming increasingly under the influence of Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, and asserts that the group's goal is to use girls and young women as sexual objects and as a means of intimidating the civilian population into non-resistance. Hill describes the attacks as similar to kidnapping of girls in Algeria in the 1990s and in the early 2000s. Now, this particular attack brought Nigeria into global relevance, and then the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls became one of the most popular hashtags on the Twitter network, with about 4 million signatories in just a single day. You see American actors and actresses. You see Michelle Obama holding the same tag. You see many other important and very popular personalities are joining in the struggle. And it looks as if just in a twinkle of an eye, Nigeria became the signature of all eyes for the global world. And then you see China, you see France, you see the United States, and many of the world powers coming and rallying around Nigeria. We felt so much important, as if, come on, Nigeria will truly be helped with all of these promises in dollars, promises in personnel's, promises in intelligence gathering and all of that. And then, of course, you also recall what they call the Paris meeting, where Francois Hollande actually summoned some of the presidents in these areas from Niger. Of course, you also saw Mr. President attending that particular meeting, and there were also promises of working together as one undivided force, ensuring that our borders are fortified, and ensuring also that there is much work being done such that all of these elements will not have free border crossing. The bottom line actually is that irrespective of all of this mud talks and all of these affiliations, 260 days afterwards, the Chibok girls are yet to be back. But in the middle of all of this crisis, the Bring Back Our Girls movement came up with a lot of civil protest, of course, civil disturbances coming up, all dressed in red, asking what the federal government is doing, how the federal government intends to bring back these these Nigerian girls. What exactly is being done has been the question on their lips, and this over the time also pitted them against the federal government. Several times they had attempted to march to the Aso Rock to get the audience of Mr. President himself as regards all of these, all of that to no avail. The best they got was an audience with the Chief Defense of Staff, Alex Bade, at a time, who also was able to speak with them. They met with certain ministers also who was able to speak with them representing the presidency. There were calls in the course of this year, many people asking why Mr. President did not visit Chibok. There are questions of security. There are questions of being sensitive. Many also asked that if the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces could not visit that part of the world, then what message was it sending actually to the people who lived there? Well, Mr. President probably did not speak at that time, but his wife did, in a passionate zeal of finding out more and understanding what exactly transpired on that dreadful night of April 14 in Chibok, where over 200 girls were abducted. She summoned the school authorities, she summoned stakeholders in this particular incident, and this is how it went. This particular meeting would now be recorded in the Nigerian history as quite memorable and quite emotional from the First Lady.
We need to ask ourselves questions. It's only by asking questions we can find a solution. Because by fighting, we cannot find solution. Asking questions does not mean you are doubting that children did not miss. Because without you getting figure, facts, without you getting facts, you will not get an answer. Because if you kidnap my child, I won't sleep. I won't let you go free. So these children are my children. So I won't sleep and allow you to take my children and do politics. No. We must protect our country. We must protect our dignity. We must protect our image. And we must protect our children. Because after the children, we are the next. We're the mothers. We are the next. My colleagues in the neighboring country, Cameroon, has written to me, called me, how can I help? She gave me some questions, but I don't know what to answer her. Because you can't answer a country. You are dealing with another country. You answer the person with she say, he say, paper publication, TV. No. Niger wrote me, I want to help. I can't answer. Chad wrote me, I want to help. I can't answer.
The head of WAEC National Office, Mr. Charles Eguridu, was at hand to provide answers to the myriad of questions
How many students were in that compound that day? At least we can start from that point.
Every day you get more revelations coming out of the papers. And I read in the papers that apart from the religion Islam, celebrating and respecting women and looking at female children as their gold, their treasure, that's what I read, and I was very impressed because I didn't even know that much.
Okay, there are other parts to that particular report that we're also going to bring to you in the course of the show today. It was quite emotion-laden. It was quite eye-opening. There are certain questions as regards if truly the Chibok girls were abducted, where are their faces, their names. Of course, that came up later on in the course of the year. But the aftermath of that particular incident of April 14, we had the students being, there are unconfirmed reports, actually, insinuations across board that these particular girls have been converted to Islam. Not until we saw the picture for ourselves and we heard them chant Islamic Quran in melodious tones I hope that we have the sound. You can just play it softly underneath mine. And it's also very quite alarming and very disturbing to see all of this gets put together in a video released by Boko Haram in the aftermath of all of this. There are reports that they've been converted to Islam, into marriage with members of Boko Haram with a reputable bride price of 2,000 naira each. Many stories evolved that cannot be confirmed on this platform. Many of the students also were taken to neighboring, was said and alleged to be taken to neighboring countries like Chad and Cameroon, with sightings reported of the students crossing borders with the militants, and of course sightings of the students by villagers living in what is now popularly known across the country as Sambisa Forest. The forest is considered a refuge for the Boko Haram. In the course of the year, the Nigerians were thinking, how large and how big is this particular forest? How fortified is it? Why is it impossible for it to be penetrated? Local residents have also been able to track the movement of those students with the help of contacts across northeastern Nigeria. But on 2nd of May, police said they were still unclear as regards the exact number of students that were abducted or kidnapped. They now asked the parents to provide documents so that an official account could be made, as school records has been damaged in the attack. On the 4th of May, the Nigerian president, Goodluck Jonathan, spoke publicly about the kidnapping for the first time, and he says that government was doing everything it could to find the missing girls. At the same time, he blamed parents for not supplying enough information about their missing children to the police. On the 5th of May, a video in which Boko Haram leader Abubakar Shekau claimed responsibility for the kidnappings emerged. Shekau claimed that Allah instructed him to sell them and that he would carry out his instructions. And slavery, he says, is allowed in his religion, and that he shall capture people and make them slaves. So it goes on and on and on and on like that. Chibok town became one of the most popular towns talked about across the world in 2014. We have a caller now who will be joining me this morning on Call Digest. Good morning. How are you today?
Okay.
Owulabi, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Honestly, I want to tell you that, yes, I am there. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Yes, I want to tell you that the country under this government has not been properly managed. Nigeria has witnessed so much calamities. 2014 has not been a very wonderful year for Nigeria and Nigerians. And there's no doubt about it that people are not telling the managers of this government the truth. They need to see beyond Abuja. The people in government need to come to the crannies of this country. Go ahead to see how Nigerians are suffering. Nigerians are jobless. Some of the things they do show that they are not interested in Nigeria. What we are seeing today is not the Nigeria that we all pray for. This is not the kind of Nigeria that we pray for. The kind of Nigeria that we pray for is a Nigerian where you go to school and you leave the school and you have a very wonderful job. The kind of Nigeria that we pray for is a Nigeria where you get jobs, you can have security. The kind of Nigeria that we have, that we pray for, is a Nigeria where we go to the hospital and we can get treatment as quick as possible. It is not a Nigeria that is bedeviled by religious crisis and religious insurgency. I on my part, we are tired of this government. We are tired of the management style of President Goodluck Jonathan. And there is no doubt about it, Nigerians are going to vote against it. We are going
It's all right.
without violence.
Thank you very much for your contribution, Owulabi. I believe that you made your point there. Thank you for calling. And that's all I can take from that call, MCR. I'm wondering why you're waiting for that. Well, I want also want to encourage an outright what position against the federal government. The show today isn't about federal government, isn't about who you intend to vote for in 2015. And I won't allow you to hijack the show making that intention known. You might pay for it and want to come and drop your what's it called now, your jingle for your favorite candidate for the 2015 election. But then the issues as we get some security in Nigeria is our focus on the show today. And while you call in, we would love to appreciate objectivity in your contribution, and we'll also appreciate you suggesting the way forward for Nigeria as a nation, as a people, because the bottom line at this time is that it's not just a challenge for the federal government, it's not just a challenge for a particular part of the country, it is a challenge that unites us together as a people. And average and ordinary Nigerians are even victims at this time. Aftermath of the April 14 disaster, of course, brought about lots of protests, especially from the Bring Back Our Girls movement. There was also Rescue Our Girls Now. Quite a number of civil society organizations rose up to that challenge. One of those protests, of course, is what we're going to show you now. But let me take this call from John. Good morning, John. Welcome to Call Digest. How are you today?
Hello?
Good morning.
Yeah, this one is fine. How do you know with you?
We're doing fine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello?
Yes, I can. Go ahead with the contribution, please.
I want to make a little comment on the people girls.
John, are you there?
When there is improvement in the policy, yeah, I'm getting, I'm speaking. Are you hearing me?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead with the contribution, please.
So the issue right now is that there is a difference in the ministry, there is a difference in the policy, and so when all these things are put together, we will find it difficult to adapt to this issue. If you talk about the Sambisa forest, these things are located in Nigeria. At least, if the Africa can locate where they are, and we also know where they are, then and we have all these things and we capture them out. If I just need to do, come here, what I need to do, so come here, I need to use air strike to counter what the militants have done. Then you see that people in Nigeria, we are not doing this, we are doing this. So this issue of leadership give things to everybody, because if you have space and the data is different away from you, it's something that this is to take things. So I think our country also does. This is the heart of the so I think our country can sit down. They can mobilize planes, airfighters.
It's all right, John. I'm afraid the line isn't too clear, but I was able to pick one or two things from what you're saying. When you calling in and able to turn down the volume of your TV set so we can get a crystal clear communication. Well, there are also issues of broker deal. There was a particular one they call a journalist broker deal to secure the release of these girls in exchange for prisoners. You recall that Shekau made mention in the videos that it's not just only enough to ask for the girls, but the question also is that where are their prisoners? And he literally was calling for an exchange between the prisoners and an exchange for prisoners with the girls in that particular video. But this particular deal was scrapped at a late stage, allegedly scrapped on 24th May after President Goodluck Jonathan consulted with the U.S., Israeli, French and British foreign ministers in Paris, where a consensus was made that no deal should be struck with terrorists and that a solution involving force was required. So in that particular season of the year, there were much discussion as regards whether it is enough to, whether it is morally justified to negotiate with terrorists, and on the other side, what alternatives are there if negotiation is not allowed. But on the 26th of May, the Nigerian Chief of Defense Staff announced that the Nigerian security forces had located the kidnapped girls, but ruled out a forceful rescue attempt for fears of collateral damage. So it was much more like, we know where they are, but we can't go there because they might be used as human shield. That particular statement to have been widely criticized, that probably it was ill-timed to have made mention of that revelation or that observation in the public gear, that it's not even a good, so to speak, for the safety of the life of these girls. On 30th of May, it was reported that a civilian militia in Bali region of northeastern Nigeria found 2 of the kidnapped girls. Then you find other very interesting developing stories too in that light. Now, moving away from that, you recall that earlier on that particular day, April 14, at about 6:45 a.m., 2 bombs exploded at a crowded bus station 8 kilometers southwest of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, killing at least 88 people and injuring about 200. Boko Haram also claimed responsibility 6 days after it occurred. And then you see other very, very interesting political perception to all of this that also define the mood of things in Nigeria as a nation. But in a quick reaction to all of this and the developments from the Yanya bombing to the Chibok girls kidnapped, there were now much more pressure on the federal government as regards doing something definite, something decisive. There are questions of which way forward in Nigeria as a question. Well, one of those reactions we got earlier this year was the ceasefire deal. There were stories as regards a possible ceasefire deal between the federal government and the suspected terrorist Boko Haram. We have a call now from Akure. Good morning, Benga.
Hello, good morning.
Benga, are you there?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead with the contribution.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Crystal clear.
Yeah, good morning. I want to contribute to... Yes, I can. Yeah. I want to contribute to what is going on, your topic for today.
Okay. Go ahead, please, Benga.
What I want you to know is the problem in this country is not basically because of who is ruling or who is not ruling. We need to pay attention to our core values, family values. Everybody needs to be responsible. Okay. Responsibility is leadership. We need to all put our hands on deck and be responsible to our community. Don't wait until the day evil happens before you start shouting. When you notice something strange, what steps have you taken as an individual? It's unfortunate that people are using this insurgent crisis as a political topic. It's unfortunate. People on the opposite side should also come together, come up with ideas and tell government this is how we think we can solve this. It's affecting everybody. It's affecting everybody. Nobody should sit down on the and say, okay, I have an antidote to this, I have a solution to this, wait for me to come on board. Souls have been lost. People have died. And some people are trying to expand, to use that as a topic for campaign. It's unfortunate. We should all come together as a country, fight this menace. Then that is when you can have a country to govern. I'm sorry if anything happens again 2015, it will be worse than what we are facing now. Our leaders should sit tight and stop playing the blame game. Hold the ball by the horn. Talk to those people. If they are not visible, I'm sorry to say it, some people are saying they know where they are. I doubt that. I doubt that. We should all come together and put an end to this. Does it mean that if I want to rule this country in 2018, I should also create crisis in Southwest so I can also be the president? No. Please, don't let us begin to toe this line. Nigeria should remain as one. If the people in North South also want to be president, do they need to create problem in Southwest? No. Please, let's come together as one and hold on to what is affecting us and solve it to the root. Then we can all be happy.
Thank you very much, Benga, for your contribution.
The country can be governed by whoever wants to.
Regards to the people in Akure, good to hear from you. Well, the events on April 14 seemed to be quite determining and quite historic for Nigeria. It brought in lots of global attention, lots of global promises. And maybe we should just patch there a little on the show this morning as we do our retrospect on security. For instance, the United Kingdom agreed to send experts to Nigeria to assist in the search for the students. The British experts were to be drawn from various government departments, including the Foreign Office, the Department for International Development, and the Ministry of Defense, and would concentrate on planning, coordination, and advice to local authorities. A Royal Air Force Sentiment R1 reconnaissance aircraft has also been reported to have been deployed to Ghana to assist in the search. The United States also agreed to send experts to Nigeria to assist in the search for the students. The American team consists of military and law enforcement officers specializing in intelligence, investigations, hosted negotiation, information sharing, and victim assistance. The U.S., of course, made it clear that it wasn't considering sending armed forces. And you recall former Nigerian Vice President Atiku Abubakar and Dr. Babangida Aliyu, chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, welcoming the U.S. government's offer of military assistance. But later on in the year, it didn't work out well, so to speak, when we get to the $9.6 million arm deal that failed in South Africa. Will also quickly touch on the role that the United States has been reported to play thus far in this particular challenge. You recall that at a point earlier this year, not quite ago, of course, the Nigerian Authority withdrew the services of the United States Army in training its personnel. On 12th May, 16 military personnel from U.S. African Command joined the search and rescue operations. On 22nd May of the year, the Department of Defense announced that it was deploying an unmanned aerial vehicle and 80 United States Air Force personnel to nearby Chad. And you also recall that Chad was chosen as a base for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance flights because of its access to northern Nigeria. You talked about the USA, the United Kingdom. France also offered a specialist team. China announced its intention to make available useful information and all of that. Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper acknowledged that Canadians had joined the international efforts to free the schoolgirls. Iran offered to help Nigeria resolve the issue of abduction also. And then you also recall Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu offering assistance to the Nigerian president in locating the missing pupils on 11 May 2014. And I think that this is where many people who have solely put all the burden on the federal government should start thinking twice. We're talking about world powers who actually promised to help, to search and find, and then 260 days after, because it's not just about the might of the federal governments now, it sounds like a global might, and that also will bring us to all of the debate as regards fighting terrorism not being the conventional war that the Nigerian military has succeeded in, but it was a guerrilla warfare that required not just arms and ammunition, but quite a lot of other unique ways of making it happen. And you also recall several other measures put in place by the federal government, the Marjorie School in northern Nigeria, the Renaissance programs, the reintegration, and of course ensuring that victims of the blast are also brought back to normal. We have another caller online now. Good morning, Lawal. Welcome to Call Digest. Hello, Lawal, are you there?
Hello?
Good morning. Go ahead with the contribution, please. I'm afraid we lost that. The moment you call in and your call is acknowledged, please just go ahead with your contribution. We'd love to hear from you. Ensure that your contribution is objective and you keep it quite simple and short. We're going to take a short break now on the show, and when we come back, we'll continue with those events that defined the security of Nigeria in 2014. Stick around. Don't go away.